Salvete omnes. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. So we've come to our third class. We'll begin with a prayer. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen.
Amen.
Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et hora mortis nostrae. Amen.
Amen.
Sede sapientiae, ora pro nobis. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. The prayer should be familiar. It's the Hail Mary, and we invoke Our Lady's seat of wisdom. Sede sapientiae. Okay, just a quick review. This is our third session. You'll find the notes for the class, for this class, in the chat section, if you haven't got it with you. I'm going to be using a PowerPoint, which will follow. The PowerPoint follows the notes more or less, and so it should be easier if you just pay attention to the PowerPoint, because I'll use the mouse to indicate things. As I said, this is the third session. In the first session, we looked at the Latin language, and second session, our focus was on the pronunciation and on the first declension. And we said that for Latin nouns, that we have a stem and an ending, and it is the ending that will determine to which declension the noun belongs. So there are 5 declensions: the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. We are dealing with the first. We dealt with the first declension. The nouns there are feminine. There are no neuter nouns in the first declension. There are a few masculine nouns in the first declension. We can tell they're masculine because one, it'll either be indicated so in the dictionary, or because of the work that the noun describes a person and the work that they do, which is usually the work men do, or at least used to do. So things like the farmer, the sailor, the murderer. These are the nouns that it belongs to the first declension. It will always end in AE in the genitive case. The genitive case is the possessive case, belonging to. We are going to be doing the same kind of exercise with the second declension nouns, which are mostly masculine. There are a good number of them are neuters, and there are a few feminine nouns among them. So we will again make the distinction between them as we proceed. Again, I'm going to, for the vocabulary, to build a vocabulary, I have a whole section on recognizing Latin words by considering their English expression or derivation. So we shall begin. I shall share my screen. Try to. So be this one. Get rid of. Okay. Don't think I did that right, did I? Try again. Share screen. That one. Share. Okay. Right. So slideshow and from the beginning. Okay. Just make this a little smaller. Okay, so this is session 3. And we're going to be dealing with the second declension nouns. So the second declension has its genitive singular in I. And its generative / genitive plural in aurum. So that's an error there. I think that's my computer trying to correct. Okay, so that should be genitive, not generative. Plural in aurum. So it contains many masculine and some feminine nouns in US. So we're going to recognize the second declension by the fact that the nominative case ends in US. It also has some neuter nouns, and they end in So when you see a noun in the nominative case, first case, when it's performing the role of being a subject in a sentence, it's either US or Don't fret about it. We will see, we'll recognize it as we progress, as we proceed. So some masculine nouns, however, end in ER and IR. Okay. So we have basically, we're going to be dealing with masculine, a few feminine, and some neuter, and then some variations in the masculine. So in the masculine, you can either have it as US or ER and IR. Okay, so we go to our little table. And these are nouns ending in US. Of course, the second declension, as I said, has its genitive in US and the plural is aurum. So we've taken something everybody knows, Dominus, the Lord. So it's the Lord, the master, guy in charge, the boss, it's all of these. So we have the case, we have the nominative. The nominative, remember, is the subject. That's what the sentence is about. We have the vocative, where we're calling, we're addressing somebody. We have the accusative, which is a subject case. Okay, so this is the recipient of the action of the verb. So I hit the table would be in the accusative case because I've done something to it. The genitive is the belonging, is possessed. The dative is either to or for, and the ablative is all the others, by, from, with, and so on. So we're going to look now at the singular case. So we have dominus. Remember, there has to be as many syllables as there are vowels. So we have 3 vowels, the O, the I, and the U. So it's dominus. Dominus. That means the Lord, the master, the boss, the guy in charge, and so on. We have, okay, I'll go to the plural. So we have many bosses. That should be an S after master. So we have domini. So the US turns into an I. So we have, again, 3 vowels. So we have 3 syllables. So we have domini. Domini. That tells you we're talking about more than one Lord or master. There should be an S after master, of course. The vocative. The vocative is when we're calling out, oh boss, oh Lord. So this US changes into an E. And you'll be glad to know that it only happens for the second declension. In all other declensions, it will keep the same ending. So we have the vocative, oh Lord, our God. No, oh Lord. So it's E, so it's domine. And the plural will be as the nominative, I. So, oh Lords. The accusative, well, again, what happens is the US becomes UM. And you'll find this is it's very similar to what happened in the first declension, because it was AM, if you remember. So we have UM. Usually for the accusative, an M, the accusative ends in an M as a rule. So all of the declensions will be an M. So it's the U, M. If it was AE, it should be AM. So for the accusative, it's the Lord's. The accusative singular, it's the Lord, Dominum. And for the plural, it's Dominos, Dominus, Dominus. OS, the Lord's. For the genitive, and this is the important one, the genitive becomes I. Okay, so it's of the Lord. And you notice it's like the plural of the nominative. Similarly for the first declension. Okay, I'm saying this so you can recognize the patterns. Okay, and then the plural is aurum, dominorum. So we have how many vowels? We have the O, the I, the O, and the U. So we have 4 vowels. Do, mi, no, rum. Dominorum, of the Lords. So we have the famous salutation, Dominus Dominorum, Lord of Lords. So be Dominus, Lord, Dominorum of Lords. And then the dative is domino. Okay, so the US becomes an O. And the plural for the dative is dominis. Okay, 3 vowels, so 3 syllables. Dominis. So, and that's 2 or 4 the Lords. And then the ablative is the same. So it's domino, by, from, with the Lord, and dominis, by, from, and so on, of the Lords. And I'm sure you're thinking, well, how do you know which one's which? This is where the prepositions will come and they will tell us which one's which. So we haven't done prepositions yet, so you don't need to fret about it just yet. So it's just important for us to be able to recognize these. So having said this, we can go to the next, the next section, which is basically recognizing Latin words of the second declension masculine, because they're also second declension feminine and the second declension neuter. So we're going to start off with the masculine and recognize them. Remember, what we're trying to do is to build up vocabulary. So we got to choose, I've chosen some nice words I think you'll all recognize. Agnus. Everybody knows that. Agnus Dei. It's a lamb. Okay? And it's Agnus. Agnus, not Agnes. Agnus Dei, which is a lamb. Amicus. Amicus. An English word that comes from that is amicable. So it's friendly. So this is a friend. Amicus. Amicus. Here we have one that everybody recognizes. Okay, we have how many vowels? 1, 2, 3. So we break it there. We always, if we have 2 consonants together, we break it between the 2. So it's Angelus, Angelus, which is of course an angel. And Anus, 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 from which we get annual. So this is a year. Annus, annus is a year. You find these in the dictionary, the updated dictionary today. So we have Agnus, a lamb, Amicus, a friend, Angelus, an angel, Annus, a year. So you can see, I hope, the connection between the English words. Another. Right. This one, we have the English word asinine. And sometimes, well, an asinus is a donkey, so you can add another S if you wish. And so if you say someone is asinine, you're saying basically that they're a donkey, or something like that. Okay. Campus. Well, if you cross off the US, you get camp, which is a field, an open place, you know. Here we have 1, 2, 3 vowels, so we have 3 syllables. So it's capillus. Capillus. We get another English word, well-known, capillary. So it's a hair. It's something as fine as a hair. So corvus is, we have the English, well, we have the Creole, corbo, which is a crow or raven. So this is its origin. It doesn't go into English unless you're doing study biology or something, where you get corvine, which is the family, the family of crows, ravens, and blackbirds, and so on. So deus. So here we have 2 vowels. They're not a diphthong, so they separate. So it's deus, deus, and of course that's God. Now we have 1, 2, 3 vowels. Digitus, digitus, from which we get digit. Sorry, did that? Okay, we have digit. Okay, which is a finger. So digitus is a finger. Here we have discipulus. You cut it there. Discipulus, discipulus, which is a disciple or follower, student. Filius, from which you get filial. So it's a son. And of course, is in the Gloria, Filius Dei, Son of God. Here is someone who's good at gardening, horticulturist. We have gladius, from which we get gladiola, because it's a sword, sword-shaped. And hortus, hortus is horticulture, so it's a garden. Locus, from which we get local, a place. It's also a school. Okay. And ludus, from which we get ludo, which is a game. We also get ludicrous, something that's foolish, fun to do. The next one, lupus. There's an illness, a very terrible illness called lupus. Lupus, which means a wolf. So you can see that it's a well-named illness because it really does tear people apart. So lupus is a wolf. Medicus is easy because if you have lupus, you need a doctor. So you have medicus. And morbus, from which we get morbid. Right? So it's a sickness, an illness of any kind. And mulus is easy enough. Instead of, if you put it in the vocative, you get mule. So mulus is a mule. Okay, so you see these words flow very easily into English. And if we go on, we have mundus. Well, mundus is mundane or worldly. So mundus is the world. It appears several times in the first chapter of St. John's Gospel. Mundus non cognovit, the world didn't know him. Numerus is easy enough, numbers. Nuncius, which of course we think of the papal nuncio, so he's a messenger. We get announce from that word. So anyone who carries a message is a nuncius. Oculus, ocular, so that relates to eyes. Yeah. So oculus, oculus is an eye. Paulus is a name, Paul, but it also means small. And Petrus is a name. It also means rock. Populus, from which you get popular or people. Rivus, from which you get, well, it's easy enough. Looks like a river. Romanus, well, that's a Roman. Socius, again, we have 3 vowels, so we must have 3 syllables. Socius. Okay, because this is not a diphthong, so it's socius. And we get social, from which, of course, so it means it's basically a companion, a friend, an associate. Somnus is the next. Somnus. People do that when they sleep in. So ambulant, they walk in their sleep. Ambulare is to walk. So sleep is somnus. And sonus, sonic boom or sound, sonus. Okay. Taurus. So AU is a diphthong. So it's Taurus. Taurus, of course, is the constellation. So Taurus is the bull, the animal, the bull. And Ventus is, we have a nice English word, when it's very hot, you want things to be ventilated. So Ventus is the wind. Yeah. All of these you'll find, as I said, in the dictionary. So just to run through them quickly. So I'll go down this time. So Agnus is a lamb, Asinus is a donkey, Deus, God, Gladius, sword, Lupus, a wolf, Mundus, the world, Paulus, name or small, Romanus, a Roman, Taurus is a bull, Amicus, amicable friend, Campus, camp, field, Digitus, a finger, a digit, because we count our digits. Hortus, horticulture, we get a garden. Medicus, medical, doctor. Numerous, number. Petrus, a rock or a name. Socius, a companion, a friend. Associate, associate comes from there as well. Ventus is the wind. Angelus, angel. Capillus, a hair. Capillaries. Discipulus, a disciple, a follower, student. Locus, a place, school. Modus, disease, illness. Nuncius, messenger. Populus, people, nation. Somnus, sleep. Annus, the year, annual. Corvus, the crow, the raven, those kind of birds. Filius, the sun. Ludus, ludo, a game. Mulus, a mule. Ocus, eye. Rivus, a river. Sonus, a sound, noise. Okay, so see, these are, how many of them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 was a 32, 34. 34 words, which I think I'd imagine that you know the English equivalent. But what I hope we've done is you made the connection between them. So we just covered the masculine nouns belonging to second declension. And we're going to be looking at the feminine nouns. Okay. Avus, the belly. Alvus, and humus, the ground is soil, from which we get humus. You know? Then we have, okay, we have most trees carry, the names of most trees are feminine. So cedrus is a cedar. You see the similarity, cedrus, cedar. Cypressus, cypress. Ficus, fig tree. Malus, apple. Now the genitives, don't forget, is an I for all of these. Interestingly, though, the apple tree, which is malus, when the translations were of the scriptures were being done, the tree in the garden is called the tree, the forbidden fruit. It was regarded as evil, and so the Latin for evil is malum, or we get mala or mal in English, malum, and so the tree was said to be malum and caught on somehow or other to malus, and that's why it's thought to be an apple tree. So it's a linguistic thing more than a theological thing. Okay, that's quite a bit we did. Okay, let's go on. Yeah. So we said that the second declension nouns are masculine, some of them are feminine, and a number of them are neuter. The feminine nouns are basically trees, the names of trees. So they're not going to crop up too often, but there are other words that do come up sometimes. But we need to focus a lot of the neuter nouns of the second declension because they end in um, and we're going to be introduced to two new ideas here. I'm going to throw them both at you to begin with. Okay, so we have templum. And in the dark orange band, templum, that's the stem. The I tells us the genitive is going to be an I. So that means the would be replaced by an I. Okay, it's neuter and it means a temple. Another second declension neuter now, you know, is verbum. In principium verbum erat. You know, in the beginning was the word verbum erat. So again, we're going to look across. So looking at the nominative case, we have templum. I've taken out the because that's what's going to change. The stem is TMPL, and that remains unchanged throughout. So we're only looking at the ending, the In the singular, nominative singular, it's templum. But in the plural, for neuter nouns, the is replaced by an A, so it's templa. Okay, so nominative is templa. The vocative is exactly the same. As I said earlier, it's only for the masculine second declensions that the vocative will change. So we have then for the vocative exactly the same as the nominative. O temple, O temples, templum, templa. The accusative, that's when it's the subject. Okay, he knocked down the temple. You know, So it's templum. So the accusative, vocative, and nominative are exactly the same. And the same applies for their plurals. The plurals are going to be exactly the same, templa, for all three. And this is always, for neuter nouns, this is always going to be true, for whichever declension the neuter noun is in. Well, there are no neuters in the first, so it would be for the second, third, fourth, and fifth. So the so the plural will always, the nominative, vocative, and accusative will always be the same. The plurals will be are. Okay. Now we come to the genitive. So the the second declension has a genitive in I, with its plural in aurum, just as the masculine. Okay, so we're going to have templi and templorum. Templorum, of the temples. The dative is templo, o, so the becomes an o, and the ablative is the same, so they're the same. And templis for both the dative and the ablative plural. Okay. Now it's, I know it's a lot to grasp all at once, but believe me, it'll become easier when you actually get into text, because you'll be able to recognize the words by the endings, and you'll know into which case to put it. So what I want you to do is try to memorize the forms. So let's recognize some words belonging to the second declension neuter. Right. Here are three that I think we should recognize at once. Argentum, what's that sound like? Argentina. Argent is what? If you're a chemist, you know that it's silver. Argentum is silver. Okay. So we have AR, gen, tum, argentum. The second one, AU, that's diphthong. So it's aurum, aurum. And again, that is gold. So silver and gold, aurum. Bellum. We have bellicose. This is war. Here we have a diphthong. So we have 1, 2 syllables. So the first syllable is jelum, jelum, heaven. Donum, donate, a gift. That's easy, this one. We have what? 1, 2, 3 vowels. So we must have 3 syllables. Exemplum, exemplum, example. Here's our ferrum, which again is like argentum and aurum. So ferrum is iron. Here we have another one. We have an I, a U, I, and I, and I. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. However, there's a rule we mentioned to remind you. If the word there's no J in Latin, so the I is used. If the I begins the word, it will, if it's followed by another vowel, it behaves like a consonant. And the sound, the J sound is pronounced like a Y. So it'll be judicium, judicium. Okay, which is a judgment. It's related to justice, and so on. Here we are, 1, 2, 3 vowels. So we have 3 syllables. Lilium, lilium, which is, of course, a lily. Mandatum, mandate, mandatum. Okay, so there's a command and order. Here we have 2 vowels, an E and a U. So it's a membrum, and that's easily seen to be member. Yeah, member, membrum. Miraculum, easy. Yes, miraculous, miraculum. A prodigy is sign. Ovum, ovary, so an egg. Ovum. Peccatum, okay, peccable. So it's nothing to do with ducks. Peccable is a sin. And periculum is dangerous, danger. Anything that's harmful. Premium. So this is a diphthong. Premium. So from which you get premium. Yes, something up front. Remedium, a remedy. Signum. If you cross off the UM, you get sign. Signum's a sign. Studium. Studium, study. Verbum, verbosity, verb. Okay, verb. And vinum is wine, which you get wine. Okay. In fact, some of them, notice if you cross off the U, you get lily, sign, vine, verb, study. Let's look at that one. Remedy, and so on. So again, there are a good number of English words which have Latin roots, you know, and you can see that in some, if you specialize in chemistry or horticulture, then you can recognize them easily enough. Should I go on to C? Okay. Yeah, okay. Okay, all right. Okay, I think the dogs want us to go on to C. Right. So we said that the masculine nouns end in US, and their genitive is an I. Well, we have some masculine nouns, not many, that end that end in er. And when you say end, we're talking about the nominative case. Huh? So we have them ended in er and ir. Okay. It'll become a little clearer as we go on. So we have the second declension nouns in ER and IR are all masculine. So that makes life very easy. Okay. And they are declined like dominus, except in two cases, nominative and the vocative, singular. Okay, so in all other cases, they're going to be declined like dominus, with the exception of those two. So there are two groups of declension for nouns in ER. Okay. So we're going to look at them. Okay. The first one, these are so C1, the masculine nouns in ER. First, those that in all cases retain the E before the R in ER. They're going to be declined as pu air. There's two vowels, so it's two syllables. Pu air. Now, pu air, from which we get the English word puerile, means a boy or a male child. It could be a baby, it could be a toddler, up to 10, 12. After that becomes adolescence, from which we get adolescence, right? So we have puer. If someone calls you puerile, they're saying that you're childish, boyish. Okay. So how does puer pan out when we start to decline it? Okay, first of all, a little clue. It's not as bad as it looks, because if you were to put the US here, pueus, it's going to be exactly like dominus. Okay, it just happens to be, as if all language, that some the words lose part of themselves, and so puer and the other words like it, all that's happened is in the nominative and the vocative, the US has dropped out. That's all that's happened, really. Because if we go back, and I don't know if I can go back on this easily. We have, for instance, we have in the nominative case, we had dominus for the singular, that's the Lord, and for the plural, we had domini. So that's all that's really changed. So if we compare this with dominus, we'd have dominuse, dominum, domini, domino, domino. But it's the nominative and the vocative really that have changed, and that's why I say in all cases they retain the E before the R. So then, as with dominus, we have puerum for the accusative and pueros for the plural. The genitive, pueri, domini, pueri. Okay, so these two are the same. And then for the plural, puerorum, puerum, puerorum. And then the dative, puero and pueris. And the ablative, the same, puero et pueris. So it's just that little problem here in the nominative and vocative singular, but basically the words it retains its form as a masculine noun of the second declension. So what words? There's some, as I said, there's several of them, not many, but enough to pay attention to. So what masculine nouns decline like puer? And we have gener. So again, if you put the US, generus, from which gets a son-in-law. Okay. We have presbyter, from which we get presbytery, presbyterate, which is basically an elder. but it will be the same. It will be presbyterus. That is the US is missing. So in everything else, it would follow the same rule as the masculine nouns of the second declension. So presbytery is basically a house where the elder lives, the priest. In the New Testament, presbyter eventually came to mean a priest. Socher, nothing to soccer, but it's a father-in-law. Socher, socherus it would have been. Liberi, liberorum. This is an odd word in as much as there is no singular. Well, there is a singular, I'm not going to it. But in this case, liberi means children. So it's a bit like the darkness we had before. Because a child would be a puer, a boy, and a puella, which would be a girl. And if we had both boys and girls, they'd all be classed as pueri, as masculine. Vir and viri. So again, it's a man or a husband. Now vir is one vowel, so it's one syllable, vir. And the US is again what is missing. But vir, we get virile and virtue. I remember one of my professors saying that virtue came from there, but I don't think he was correct. I think he was trying to drive home a point. But here we have basically vir means man or a husband. Now, this is rather important because in English, as you know, there's this contention, this fight over gender, and the feminists are insisting that you have to say brothers and sisters, men and women, lords and ladies, and so on. You don't have that problem in Latin because the gender is attached to the word. But it goes even further. Vir is always a man, an individual man. Okay? Mulier is an individual woman. Homo hominis means the human race. Okay, so if you're speaking about the whole human race, you use Homo hominis. But if you're speaking about an individual man, you use vir. So, for instance, when it says in the creed, et homo factus est, it is not that Christ became an individual man in that sense. It didn't say et vir factus est. It says homo. In other words, he took human nature, which includes male and female. Okay, so we don't fall into that trap in Latin. Moving on, we have liver, which is a brother-in-law, and you notice how close it is to a husband, and a man. So all of these, they would be declined as puer. So it's only in the nominative and in the vocative that they would retain this form. Okay, and then for the rest, they add the endings are added to the stem. Okay. So vir and its compounds are the only nouns in IR. Okay, so that makes life very easy. So all the compounds will be like brother-in-law and so on. Okay, so let me see. We need either. Okay, we can go through. We can go through this. If there's need, I can go over it again next week. Okay, right. So we're going to now look at masculine nouns that end in ER. Okay, so the second, we dealt with the first, those in, so second, those that in all cases except the nominative vocative singular drop the E before the R in ER. Okay, so again, we have the same thing at nominative and vocative. So we have liber and liberi, which is masculine, and it means a book. Remember I said earlier that we had like a problem with the children. Okay, well, that's a problem. Okay, so we'll worry about that later on. So nominative is liber, vocative is liber. Now, if we go to the plural, the E is dropped. So you get libri, from which you get library, of course. So it's libri. Okay. And the vocative is the same. So that E here has been dropped. And so we have some nouns like that. So we have some that keep it and some that drop it. Okay. Now, once it's dropped, it's dropped. So all the other cases are going to be without that E. So in the accusative, we have librum, and in the plural, libros. So again, the will tell you that it's accusative, and the os will tell you it's accusative plural. So just as for the dominus, librus. Librus, sorry. Okay. Genitive, libri and librorum. And then the dative, libro, and the ablative, libro, with their plurals, libris. Okay. So let's see what nouns come into the form shape of liber. Ager, a field. Arbiter, arbitrator. Again, here we have A, I, E. So we have three vowels, therefore three syllables. So arbiter. Cancer, cancer, or crab. Okay, so the constellation Cancer. Cutler, a knife. Guess what we get in English? Cutlery. Yeah. Cutlery. Makes sense? Magister, master, teacher. Magister, teacher. Magistrate comes from this as well. Minister, a minister or servant. So ministers are essentially servants. They're the ones who minister to us whilst they govern us, both of us. And I think that was all. So the second declension now, masculine nouns in IR, we already looked at vir, and its compounds are the only ones. Okay, how are we doing for time? 5 minutes. I was going to do, perhaps I might come back to that. We have 5 minutes, so I can take some questions, if anything, is can be thought of.
Going back to your second slide.
Yes.
Where are we now? It was pointed out. I'm trying to find it.
That'd be the templum, the neuter nouns.
Yes, and
Yeah.
you had US, and oh, I have to get my notes here. You had US. How did this work?
Sorry, the second slide. So that will be
The second slide. So we were looking at the second
yes,
declension.
yes, okay. Yes, okay.
And shouldn't that have been I instead of US?
Should have been nominative instead of
I
genitive.
remember saying I made a mistake somewhere. Say that again?
Nominative instead of genitive.
Nominative.
Instead of genitive, you had US.
The first line.
So the first line had recognizing Latin words of the second declension. And then you had forms, the second declension nouns, and you had US instead of I. I'm just wondering about that. That was the first or second slide, or
Okay, okay.
you had US. And it's nothing really. It was
No,
just
no. It's the point was
it was a
some, I have
query.
problems with the. I'm blaming the machine because I get autocorrect sometimes, and something, you know.
Yeah, that's fine.
Although I yeah.
That was
Okay,
my,
unless I go back to the slide, let me try that and see. I'm going to share screen again.
Add US as a genitive.
And if how do I go back now? The new share.
You just press left on the keyboard.
Oh,
Keep going back.
I'm sorry. Press what?
The left cursor on the keyboard, so left. So you go up, down, left, right. Just press the left button, or you can just press escape rather. And you
Yeah,
can,
I'm trying that. There's nothing's happening with escape. Okay, right. There we are. Sorry. Okay. Second slide. So.
Yeah, the second slide or the third. If now here we go.
Okay.
Now next one. It's the next one. I think you were taking us through.
This one.
There we go. Genitive singular in US. And I was just wondering, shouldn't it be genitive singular in I? That's the very first line. So it's right under nouns in US.
Sorry, right under
nouns in
nouns in US. Yeah.
So the second declension has the genitive singular in US.
Oh, right. Yes, I did say that I made a mistake there.
Ah, got you.
Yeah, it should be I.
Got you. Okay, I missed that.
You know,
Yeah.
No. Thanks for bringing it up. Well, I did notice it before.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, well spotted anyway. Okay.
Hey, but call me back now.
Your note. Sorry, your notes are correct, Father. The slide isn't, but your notes are correct.
Ah, okay. All right.
Okay.
So again, when it's switching over it, and okay, but well spotted. Anything else? Okay, that's why I couldn't see it when I was looking at it. Okay. So next week, what I will do, what I hope to do, is I will introduce you to the verbs, because we can't get very far without action, and verbs are action words. So we'll start off with as I did before, with the first conjugation. There are 4 conjugations. The first and the second are the easiest to deal with, just as the first and second declensions are. And again, I'll choose verbs that are easily recognized in English. Feedback would be great. If there's anything I can do to make it easier for you, I'm willing to undertake that. Also, I hope this is pleasant. It's not. I know the way Latin used to be taught from what I've heard. It's been a painful experience.
Not much, huh? My class is winding down.
Okay. So, anything else before we close? No. Thank you very much for your attention. So we can end with the Angelus as usual.
The angel of the Lord declared unto Mary, and she conceived by the Holy Spirit. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Behold the handmaid of the Lord, be it unto me according to thy will. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Pray for us, O Holy Mother of God, that we may be made worthy of the promise. Let us pray. Pour forth, we beseech thee, O Lord, thy grace into our hearts, that we, to whom the incarnation of Christ thy Son was made known by the message of an angel, may by his passion and cross be brought to the glory of his resurrection, through the same Christ our Lord. May the divine assistance remain always with us, and may the souls of the faithful departed in the mercy of God rest in peace.
And may the blessing of Almighty God, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit descend upon you, remain with you now and always.
Thank you,
I
Father.
should mention one other thing. I sent out another which is the updated dictionary. Okay, so this is updated. If you go through it, you can see a lot of the words. Again, I've tried to stick to words close to English, and you can compare them, and you can see how it can move from one to the other. If you look under B, you see barber, barbe, a beard. That's how Barbados got its name, from barber. You have barbarians. Barbarians had beards. The Romans frowned upon beards, but barbarians basically had beards. And apparently when Barbados was discovered, there were a lot of trees with tendrils hanging down. They looked like beards, and that's how it got its name.
Okay.
That's just a tidbit.
Thank you, Father. That was interesting.
Yep. Okay. Enjoy the rest of the week and a great weekend.
Yes, Father.
bless.
Thank you.
Father, thank you.
Ali Magister.
Okay.
Thank you, Father.
Salvete omnes.